Hey everybody, happy Sunday. For those of you that joined me last night on the little fireside chat, that was kind of fun, sitting around the fire and just telling stories. It's one of my favorite things to do. Välkommen tillbaka, tack för sist. Ursäkta ha Della Hill. I'm kind of excited. I'm going with my boys tonight to a movie, Hail Mary. I've read the book, so I'm really curious to see what they do with the movie. I have not been to a movie theater in like 6 years, and I used to go almost weekly for decades. I just got tired of all the people that are just so rude, scrolling on their cell phones, talking, crunching everything. I'm like, you know what? I can watch a movie at home for a lot cheaper and I make better popcorn. So I've started doing that. But I'm kind of excited to go just because it's been so long. So I asked, I don't know if it was in the last video, but recently, I was like, if you have suggestions for things you'd like me to talk about or stories you'd like to hear, feel free to shout out. And I'm always open to suggestions. I mean, I've actually got several stories. My wife's reminded me of some stories, and I'm loaded for bear. But somebody suggested talk about high school. And I thought, now that's a subject. And I'm not like some people that my high school was a miserable experience. It just wasn't for me. I mean, I had some moments, but I graduated high school in 1981 up in Alberta, Canada, small town. It was probably 4,000 or 5,000 people around then. My high school was basically high school and junior high combined. I mean, it was grades 7 through 12. They were all separate. It wasn't like a tiny, tiny school. My graduating class, I think, was a little over 100 people. I thought for decades that it was 99 people, but I had a reunion a couple of years ago, and somebody said it was more like 130. But so not a big class. Like some of y'all probably graduated from high schools in big cities with 1,000 people in your class. I know my wife did. She was from Southern California. But if you've ever seen the movie Dazed and Confused with Matthew McConaughey, I always forget the main guy's real name. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, that could have been picked right out of my school. It was so similar to, I will go into more like specific stories later on. But I thought I'd just kind of generalize what high school was like for me in the 70s and real early 80s, turn of the decade. For one thing, and this blows my mind, drinking age was 18. I don't know if there even was a smoking age. I don't think kids were allowed to smoke, but I don't remember a specific smoking age. But get this, I'm not making this up. We had a smoking area in our school. So kind of between the junior high and the high school was this outdoor area. It was kind of enclosed by buildings, and I think it was open on one side. But it was a smoking area. And I kid you not, 13-year-olds would be out there smoking with 50-year-old teachers, just smoking their cigarettes like it was nothing. I was never a smoker. I've had a few cigarettes in my life, but I mentioned before, my buddy and I, when we were like 8, tried smoking. Holy stupid. I've just never had any interest in it. I like having a cigar now and then, sitting around the fire. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I did one of my YouTube videos sitting by the fire with a nice stogie. We had some friends over here the other night, just another couple, and we sat around our fire and we just smoked stogies. And my wife's not into it, but the three of us did, and just BS'd, and it was awesome. But back to the high school, yeah, we had a smoking area where literally 7th graders through 12th graders, teachers, janitors, all just kind of gathered there and smoked. Nobody thought anything of it. It never even occurred to me that, hey, this is kind of bizarre. It never did. It's pretty crazy when you think about it now. Can you even imagine going to a school these days, especially a junior high, and seeing kids smoking with the teachers? Didn't happen. Smoking in the boys' room. Good. That's Brownsville Station, right? So yeah, that was kind of crazy. Cars were everything, especially as a teenage boy. Now, I never had the souped up muscle car like some of my buddies had, but I had a few friends that had, I remember I had a friend that had a 69 Chevelle, another one with a 70 Malibu, another one with a 71 El Camino, another one with, I think it was a 73 Nova. And these things were all souped to the nuts. I mean, they went like bat out of hell. If any of you were into cars back then, you probably remember traction bars. They kind of went with your suspension by the back tires, and it was supposed to kind of help keep your tires on the road when you're going high speeds. And we had this place just outside of town. In fact, now it's practically in town now, but when I lived there growing up, it was like maybe a mile out of town. There was this road, and we had marked off, I didn't do it, it was long before us, but they had marked off a quarter mile. And if you're into cars back in the 70s, you know what I'm talking about. We would go out there and we would race. Oh, I had a friend that had a 75 Chevy pickup, sweet. One with a 77 pickup, sweet. But we would go out there and race the quarter mile and clock ourselves and see how fast you could get going in a quarter mile. 0 to 60, that kind of stuff. Really into that. And we used to go out there and race. And I had just gotten my license. So my very first car was a 1963 Plymouth Belvedere. I wish I had that car now. It was a 4-door, so we didn't really think it was cool because only 2 doors were cool back then. But I would love to have that car now. It was very cool looking. In fact, I saw one Friday. We were driving up to Salt Lake, and I saw a Belvedere. It was probably a 62, but it was right there, and it was a 2-door, so it was badass. And then my second car, not long after. So the first car, my dad had it sitting behind his welding shop, and nobody drove it. I didn't even know it ran. And some kids had kind of analyzed it, and they had smashed all 4 of the side windows out of it. And my dad told me, if you put new windows in that, you can have that, which I did. I think I paid about $100 back then. So, that'd be like $300-400 now. I think I mentioned this the other day, but I put the windows in myself. I couldn't afford to pay somebody to do it. I always had money because I started working when I was 12. And I always had spending money, but I also like spending my spending money. But I managed to scrape that together. I got my own insurance. I did it all myself. The day I turned 16, I mean, I'd already had a learner's permit for 2 years and been driving. But the day I turned 16, I'm like, I need the car, Mom and Dad. We only had one car, a Grand Safari station wagon. It was probably, this would have been 1979, so it was probably like a 74 Grand Safari station wagon with a 454 in it. Big ass motor in it, but the car was gigantic. And they said, no, we gotta go somewhere. And I threw a fit that I'm embarrassed about. And they finally just caved and said, go get your freaking license, you psychopath. So I did. I got it the day I turned 16. Most of us did back then. You just could not wait. But that Grand Safari, I took it out and I raced a buddy of mine who had a 1970 Chevy truck. I think he had a 350 in it. Sorry, the little flies. I think he had a 350 in that. And he blew me off the line. I mean, he's gone. But when the 4-barrel carb kicked on that 454, and we weren't even halfway through the quarter mile, I blew right by him like he was standing still. It was crazy how fast that car was. Giant boat of a car. But yeah, the Plymouth Belvedere literally had push button gears and a little lever that you pull up and down to put it in park. It had a slant 6 engine, if any of y'all know what that is. Pretty cool engine. But my high school days, like I mentioned, are almost all good memories. I had a couple of periods that were rough. I remember I had a big falling out with one of my best friends, and he decided he wanted to fight me, which is fine. We fought not me and him. People fought at our high school. That's another thing. After school, a couple times a week, there was a fight. Everybody knew about it. Everybody gathered. Teachers never got involved. It wasn't like knives and guns and anything like that. It was just, fists. And everybody gather, and if it got too bad, one guy's getting beat up too bad, although there were some girl fights too. then you'd pull them apart. Everybody that was around would pull them apart. It's like, okay, he or she has had enough. What was my point there? Oh, yes. So that friend of mine, we had our falling out. We ended up being friends again. But for a few months there, I had no problem. Okay, you want to fight? Let's fight. This is stupid, but okay. If that's what you want to do, then that's what we're going to do. But the problem was, he got some of his other friends that were not friends of mine, and they would like corner me after school. And I had to start figuring out different ways to get home. Because I couldn't fight 3 or 4 guys. I could hold my own back then, but not against 4 guys. And I never understood why he did that, because he was a pretty tough dude. I don't know who would have won between us, but I think it'd have been a pretty close fight. So I don't know why he ever did that. And when we were friends again, it just never came up, you know. Back then, excuse me, you could get in a fight. My best friend growing up, I bet we had half a dozen full-on fist fights. I know it sounds stupid. And if you're younger, you're like, where did you grow up? In Guys and Dolls? What's West Side Story? No, but there were a lot of fights. My younger brother, my next youngest, he just turned 60. He was about 5'6", maybe 135 pounds back in high school. I'm about 5'10", 210 now, but I was probably 5'9", 170 pounds or something like that. So I was quite a bit bigger than him, but he was the baddest mother you-know-what I have ever seen. I never saw him. Well, I did see him lose one fight, but the guy actually quit because my brother Trond would not quit. In fact, my brother said to him, what's going to happen is you're probably knock me unconscious because I'm not giving up. And then I'm going to come find you and I'm going to beat the crap out of you. I will be. The guy's like, how about a draw? And Tron says, yeah, I can live with that. And they ended up being really good friends. I've mentioned that before, that sometimes you'd end up buddies with some of the guys you'd get in fights with. Like I said, my best friend, I remember once my mom pulled us apart. But racing was a big thing. Cruising in high school. Cruising, it's hard to even put it into words how much that meant to us. I met girlfriends cruising. I got in fights cruising. I met good friends cruising. It's really hard to describe it, and I feel so bad because I don't think it happens hardly anywhere anymore. Maybe in some small towns in America and Canada it does, but a lot of cities outlawed it, which I never understood that. I mean, for the most part, it was just cruise around, BSing with your buddies, talking to the pretty girls. After a basketball game or a football game or something, everybody would go cruise. And it was just, if you didn't grow up with it, you probably can't comprehend. But it meant so much to us. So when I got my second car, it was when Ford Mustang decided to go into that little tiny Mustang. It must have been, when was that? Like 74, 75, 76, somewhere in there. And that's what that car was. It was that year. Excuse me. And I bought it from the friend that we had the falling out when we were friends again. I bought that car from him for $300. Gave him cash. In fact, most people didn't do any kind of credit back then. Even your house, you got a mortgage. But cars sometimes, but people didn't put, a washing machine on a credit card, or a pair of jeans, for hell's sake, or dinner. It was much more of a cash society back then, which I miss. I still carry cash with me all the time. To me, cash is king. And when somebody says, oh, we don't accept cash here, I'm like, look at this bill. It says, what is it? Legal tender for all debts, public and private. You have to take it. You don't have a choice. It's the law. But there are places that don't. Going out and eating was a huge thing too, especially on Friday and Saturday nights. Friday and Saturday nights, we would usually head up to Lethbridge, the big city, like 40,000 people, and we'd cruise, and restaurants were open till 2, 3, 4 in the morning back then up there. I think they still are, way more than in the States. When I moved to the States, and I would say to my college roommates or something at 1 in the morning, let's go grab some food. They're like, what are you talking about? Where are you gonna go get food? I don't know, isn't there a pizza place or a Chinese food place or a Mexican food place open somewhere? Nah, but it was back then, and everybody gathered. So I've mentioned many times I grew up Mormon. We'd go to the Mormon dances, usually on, I can't remember if they were Friday or Saturday, but after that, a whole bunch of us would go out for pizza. Boston pizza was a big one, or Chinese food. The Chinese food places would be open till 4 a.m. And there was this dive Chinese food place in Lethbridge called Shanghai. Oh, but it was so freaking good. I mean, it looked like a dump, but the food was amazing. And we'd go hang out there afterwards. Once we were old enough, we'd go hang out at the bars. Like I said, you could drink at 18, and if you were 16 or 17, they never carded you. Nobody got ID'd back then, unless you looked like you were 12. And when I was 16, I did look like I was 12. When I was 19, I looked like I was 16. But I got into the bars most of the time, and then once we were 18, you know, we could go legally. That was a big thing in high school. I had some cool teachers in high school. I had some teachers I could not stand. The coolest teacher I ever had, and I had some good ones, was our biology teacher, who was also a gym teacher, and he was the volleyball coach, and he was the baddest dude ever. The guy could stand on his hands and do, like, against the wall and do 50, 60, 70 push-ups like that. He was just tough, and he was cool. His name was Dell. I won't give his last name, but if any of you grew up around there, you know who he is. He won, I think, a couple of provincial volleyball titles, and provinces are like states, so it's like winning a state title. He was so cool in biology. I did not try very hard in high school, and you know, I squeaked by and I graduated. And when he heard a couple of years after high school that I was studying biology for my major, I ended up graduating with a zoology degree. He just laughed his ass off. He's like, "Man, you were lucky to get C's in my classes. How are you doing that in college?" But I did. You know, when I buckled down, I was actually a pretty good student. I remember one semester I decided to really try, and I got a 4.0. In Canada high schools, the grading was different. Now, I could be off by a couple of percentage points, but 50 to 60 was a D, I believe. You had to get below 50% for an F. 60 to 70 was a C. 70 to like 85 was a B, and 85 to 95 was an A, and then above 95 was an A+. Like I said, I could be off a little bit, but right in that ballpark. And so you had to do pretty bad to fail, because I know that's not the grading system they had in the States. But get this, and this is not a slam, because I've lived in the States most of my life. I've been here 40 years. I love it. But when I went to college my freshman year in the States, the classes were a joke. It was like I was going back to 10th grade in Canadian high school. And that's part of the reason I slacked so bad, because it was just so easy. It was literally like taking 10th grade math, 10th grade biology. And I never understood it. I got to find out later, you know, that the systems are just different. And I don't know what the comparison is now. It could have flip-flopped for all I know. I know there's some states here in the U.S. that have some really bad school systems, and that's a story for another day. But yeah, it's this is off topic a little bit, but me and two of my Canadian buddies who were my roommates took an American history class. And this was one of those big classes where you sat in a big theater and there were probably 400 kids in the class. And we finished 1, 2, and 3 in the class for American history as Canadians. Boy, did that professor lecture the class when that happened at the end of the year. He's like, "Congratulations to Arnold, Darren, and Curtis," I think it was. Top 3 in the class, all over 98%. But you guys should all be embarrassed because they're all Canadians. But like I said, I live here. This is my home. I love the USA, and I will never apologize for it. I love it. But man, I could go on high school stories forever. You know what? That's a really good subject. I should have gotten the name of who suggested that for me. I'll try and remember, and give, I think it was her, a shout out. But I love getting suggestions, so that's a really fun topic. I will do that more. Actually, I love reminiscing and just telling stories, and I really do feel like, you know, you're right here and we're just having a bull-less between friends. And so when I get your comments back, that's like your interaction back to me, and I really dig it. So I should probably get going. I think we're gonna head to the movies here in not too long. Flying back to California tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. I hope my back holds up. Gonna have to ease into it. I don't think I can just do my 12-hour days, 7 days a week right now. I think I'm gonna have to ease into it, which is very hard for me. I'm a freaking workaholic, and I don't say that bragging, because trust me, it can be a curse. My dad has it. I have another brother that has it, and it's just, I cannot take days off when I'm on the road. I want to, but when I've done it in the past, it's like, this is just another day on the road. I could be out there working, get 1 day closer to home. And I just can't stand sitting still. This has been a tough 6 weeks for me, because the last week and a half or so, I've been able to do some stuff, but for several weeks, it was just watch YouTube, sit in the backyard, watch the birds, drink my coffee, have some beers on the weekend. So it's nice to be able to start moving around and doing stuff again. But man, I'm just having so much fun. I hope y'all are digging it. And you know what? The haters, I dig you too. I like the comments. And fair enough, I'm not your cup of tea. I guess you can tell me. I don't really understand. Like, I had one person say, why are you telling the whole world about this? Nobody cares. And I'm like, well, I guess it's kind of the same reason that you decided to comment on this video. Why do you care? Why are you commenting? Just, if I'm not your cup of tea, scroll past. You think I'm an idiot? You think I'm ugly? You think I'm a goofball? Whatever. Scroll by. It's all good. We can still be friends. I don't know why my voice got so high there. So, yeah. I'll try and do another video before I fly out tomorrow. And then I will try to stay on this from my hotel for the next few weeks. I think I'm gonna have to do a long stint on the road, but I got a lot of catching up to do. Hope y'all have had a beautiful weekend. I hope you're having a beautiful Sunday. You know, I feel blessed. Life is good, even with the back injury, even with the sitting around for all these weeks. The fact that I get to go out and make a living and provide for my family and live in the USA. I mean, that's a giant blessing all by itself. I'm heading back to Norway this summer. I'm so excited. It's my homeland. In fact, I just found out that I'm not super close with a lot of my cousins because I just don't see them. We moved when I was a kid. I've been back off and on, but just not enough to be close. But one of them that I am kind of close with is literally down to her last few hours of life. She got cancer, and I just talked to her a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, you're gonna make it, you're gonna pull through, you're gonna be there when I get there this summer. And it doesn't look like it's gonna happen. And you know, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, I guess. Hopefully there's a reason for everything. Anyway, I don't want to get too down. I just found that out a few hours ago. So back to positive vibes. Thanks everybody. Tack för denna gången. Vi snackas igen snart. Det är så käckt hvis du är I Norge. Du må fortelle meg hvor du er. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for the comments, the subscribing, the thumbs up, all of it. I dig all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. I dig all of it. Y'all rock. Peace. Love.